Summer Reading 2014. Go Wild resources and our summer reading themes. We're going to begin this morning looking at a LibGuide that's been created for summer reading. You'll find this guide at guides.gowild.net and under summer reading. Here you'll find some links to materials about the summer reading program, some webinars, importance of summer reading, and resources. And we'll look at this site more at the end of the webinar. We'll base our webinar today and looking at our Go Wild resources on the themes Fizz Boom Read, Spark a Reaction, and Literary Elements. The first item on this LibGuide you'll see is our Teen Video Challenge, and you'll see the link here to the Wyoming video and the national video. And I encourage you to take a look at both of those, and I encourage you to use and promote the Wyoming winner of the Teen Video Challenge. We're going to focus on science and literature, as well as tools that can help prevent the summer slide. Beginning on the gowild.net page, depending on what age group you're working with, if you're working with children, teens, adults, you can use this page to jump right to Kids K-8, student research, science and technology, or literature, just to help narrow some of our resources. I'm going to begin with science and click on the science and technology link. Here you'll find some recommended items at the top of the page, but a couple I'd like to point out at the bottom. New to our suite of databases, National Geographic and Smithsonian Collections Online. Both are going to contain material that might be useful as you work through your summer reading program. But I'm going to go back up to the top and start with Science in Context. The In Context databases give you some major topics here on their main page. So looking at science under our theme this year, you'll see that there are biographies, chemistry, math, biology, earth and environmental science. They list 3 topics under each one, but to see all of them, notice there's a View All across from each category. I'm going to select chemistry and select View All. Here you'll see a list of topics that might be useful in this theme. And considering Spark a Reaction, I'm going to select caffeine. Under each one of these science topics, at the very top is basic information about whatever topic you've selected. And if you click on View More, you'll get the complete article. To go back, you just click in the top left on Topic. You'll see on the right-hand side, they give a link table of contents, so you can jump straight to magazines, videos, images, for example. Under the images, again, they give a couple of the images on the main page, and then be sure to click View All. This one might be fun in your science one. Here's the atoms for caffeine. If you scroll down, there's your reference items, articles, journal articles, academic articles, news items, and on the right-hand side under the images, you'll see if there's audio files available, if there's video available for each one. Let's go take a look at some other ones. This time we're going to look at SES Discover, and I can do that under student research. I can do that alphabetically. SES Discover is going to focus more on grades 1 through 9, whereas In Context was the older kids and adults. On SES Discover, in addition to being able to look for articles in reference and journals and magazines, and do that by subject here in the middle, what I wanted to show you is on the right-hand side here under Database Features, where you'll find activities under Science Fair Explorer, Skills Discover, activities, and they've also added nonfiction books. So to help with both science topics and nonfiction books, as well as the Prevent the Summer Slide and working on Common Core. So let's start out with this new one, and that's nonfiction books here in SES Discover. Notice we can go to our science, our technology, environment, biographies, arts and humanities, whatever you might be working on and focusing on. So let's take a look at invention. Why don't we let that load, and we'll go back and take a look at other things on the SES Discover page, and we'll come back to that book. Also on the home page, while our nonfiction book is loading, you can go to the Science Fair Explorer, and here you can find some activities under various topics that might work for your science theme. Notice that we can explore a topic in the yard, in the junk drawer, in the recycling bin, in the garbage bin. So in the garbage bin is gross science, and then it gives me some activities. So we can look at cool gooey ooze, and here's the activity, the materials needed, and the directions for creating it. Let's see if our book's loaded. So back to our nonfiction, here's our DK Eyewitness book, Invention. And we can scroll through the pages. So here's the beautiful pages of that eyewitness book on inventions. So take a look at those nonfiction books there on SES Discover on the right-hand side under Database Features. So we looked at Science Fair Explorer as well. They also have Skills Discover. So in addition to working with your summer reading, this is great for that summer slide, helping kids stay caught up. Notice that we have our topics at the top. So math is important under this theme. Science is important under this theme. Under science, you can select scientist, space, science fair projects again. When I click on science fair projects, here's an interactive activity. And notice there's a link to more science fair projects and sites. I'll click on space there, and again you get a featured interactive video there and more sites for space. Also on this page is a list of activities. Here you're going to find some math activities and puzzles, so if you're trying to encourage the math portion, now that the Collaborative Summer Library Program also includes bedtime math, here's activities under math activities and projects. Let me just scroll down a little bit so you can take a look. So let's look at one of these, Twisted Twister data. And there's the information, the activity, the questions, and the answers for that. Also under activities, the things that might be useful this summer, that's the read aloud plays and read aloud stories. So here's our read aloud stories. Quite a nice variety. When you go into it, it gives you the read aloud story here and a little background about the story. And then notice there's some related articles linked to that. Back at GoWild.net, another great resource for our summer reading is Britannica. Britannica, we have several versions. You'll see that we have Britannica Kids, which is kids 8 through 15, and there's Britannica Public Library. I'm going to click on Britannica Public Library. Here you'll see you can go into the children's, young adults, or reference. If you click on children's, this is what Britannica Library looks like these days. They've updated their platform. Here across the bottom, you'll see that you can go straight into a world atlas, comparing countries. But let's take a look at Animal Kingdom. Notice that there are featured videos, related links about this. They always do a Did You Know? Here in the middle, we can explore animals by group or by habitat. So depending on what activities you're working on, what your theme is, we can change that to habitat or animals by group. When we come in, you can select a topic. And if you're in the children's, you'll notice that they're using something called chunking. There's also a tour of the USA if kids are traveling for the summer. Up in the top right are research tools and materials. And this opens up those same things just in a different format. By going to Britannica Library at the top left, I can come back out and look at Young Adults or Reference Center, and you'll see that they always have a Did You Know, some videos, and some how-tos, but it also will link them to the Compare Countries, World Atlas, biographies, media, and articles to get at some of their material if they're searching for science topics or biographies of folks in science and math or literature. Another thing that might come up, using the teens theme of spark a reaction, you might want to use the social issues. Instead of going down the science or literature, look at activism and things going on in our world. So here under social issues, we've brought to the top some really key resources. Opposing Viewpoints in Context. Again, it's one of those in context databases where they have 3 items on the front and a view all next to the category. So take a look at that if you want to work with your teens on issues of the day, sparking a reaction. Here's science, technology, and ethics, and there's the list of topics that you might want to use. In addition there, under our social issues, you'll see that we have SES Knowledge Source, Global Issues in Context. Several that will give good background information about a social issue, educational resources that you can use. The Global Issues in Context will link you to some lesson plans. The SES Knowledge Source will lead you to SES Issues Researcher, where you'll get social issues of the day. And one you might want to use with your teens is this visual browse. And to find an issue to help spark a reaction there. The other thing here at the very top, it says Database Features. It will open up each one of our SES resources, but notice there's a Common Core writing guide that might be of use this summer, again, to help kids prevent that summer slide. So now let's look at books. The obvious one for our summer reading. We have several places that you can go. The first one we're going to look at is called Books and Authors. In this resource, you can look for fiction as well as nonfiction. On the left-hand side, you'll see that it defaults to fiction categories. We can also select nonfiction. We can also do a browse genres, and we can do a who, what, where, when. They give a lot of suggestions here in the middle. One that might be fun right now is, are your favorite books coming to the big screen? But let's start with the title search here at the very top. And I'm going to use our science theme and more for the adults. And I'm going to search The Science of Sherlock Holmes. So this might be a great book to promote. I'm going to click on the title here in Books and Authors, and you'll see it gives you a little source citation information, a link here at the bottom left to see if it's in your library, information tabs here about the author, book reviews, and if available, author read-alikes. So you might take this science theme and literary elements, the adult theme, and take that and locate other books such as The Science of Sherlock Holmes, Math and the Mona Lisa, and use that. We can also browse by genre, since we're encouraging reading in the summer. Here's where it's by fiction, and you can select, for example, mystery fiction, get our categories and their recommended books. Or I can click on nonfiction, and we can stick with our science category. Under science, it breaks it down into our subcategories. We can select astronomy, for example. And there's our recommended books. We can also select if we're focusing more on the literature part of this, especially under the adults with literary elements. And here we can look at fine arts, literature, language, and locate books under fine arts, for example, and get the description, book reviews about the author, and whether our library owns it. Our other book resource is Novelist, our nice reader's advisory tool. We have Novelist and Novelist K8. I'm going to select Novelist. Just like we can in Books and Authors, we can search a title. And here it brings up our list, and I'm going to select Sweetness at the bottom of the pie. On this page, you'll see it indicates if it's part of a series, which is really great for summer reading. If they've read one, they want to know what's the rest in the series, I just click on that, and it will give me those series titles in order. A description, book and appeal terms, genre, storyline, which you can do reader's advisory on. It gives you a link to check to see if it's available in a library near you. And they've changed their format a little bit, so now to do the search for more, using it as a reader's advisory tool, you scroll down and it's here at the bottom of the page. Since we're doing a science theme, I'm going to click on Girl Scientists and see what else is available. Click Search. Of course, the book that I searched from will be on that list, and then other books that meet that criteria. Notice that we're in regular novelists, so I have adult books and ages 9 to 12 books right here at the top. If I wanted to narrow this just for my certain reading level, over here on the top left, I'm going to click ages 9 to 12 and update my results. Now these are appropriate books for that age level with my theme, Girl Scientists. In addition to using titles or authors, characters, to find more books, you'll see there's recommended read lists here on the left hand side, and these are all going to be fiction books. I can change my age, and that will change my categories, and then I can use that to just open up some topics and find books. But the thing I wanted to really show you was here at the top under Professional Toolbox, where they have Working with Youth. Under Working with Youth, you'll see that there's My Kid Wants to Read, and there's some books with a more like this. So they're recommending more books if your kids read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and they want other ones, there's a list of more like this. My Kids Have to Read, and then we can go to the breakdown. So My Kids Have to Read, so here's Best Tween Fiction, Best Teen Fiction, Teenage Boys, Humorous Fiction, Adventure Fiction. So if you're trying to get up on a certain genre, this is a great place to come for that. Also under the toolbox, you'll see Tell Me More About, and I can go under Programming. So if they're all talking Divergent, here's a catch-up guide to Divergent. If you're working with getting teens to read this summer, Inform Yourself, Key Events, Keywords and People, Book Discussion Questions, and Book Recommendations. What a great source to kind of help yourself get caught up in talking books with your teens, older kids, and younger kids. There's also matching readers with books, with some read-alikes and lists, as well as some ideas under different topics. So here's graphic novels to set the stage for summer reading. And that was last year's theme. Gifted readers and things like that. So take a look at the Working with Youth in the Professional Toolbox. There's also a Reader's Advisory Toolkit if you want to get up to speed on different genres this summer. And remember, in addition to being able to limit by age level here in Novelist, you can always go to Novelist K8. And here you'll find the same format for searching books and the professional toolkit. Because it's K-8, it does not include the Reader's Advisory Toolkit there, but it does have the Working with Youth. It also has a spotlight on award winners, and you'll see that there's listed articles on both of them. Both will have these picture book extenders, grab and go lists, book discussion guides. But the picture books extenders could be very helpful in the summer as you're providing so much programming. So here we have, let's look at April and Esme. And you'll see on this picture book extenders here, you can print this out in a PDF format. You have a summary and discussion questions, activities, and related titles. A lot more in your kit bag to help you stay caught up and find new books, new programming, new activity ideas. So we looked at a few places for science. We looked at a few places for books, book talking, reader's advisory. Let's focus a little bit on the literature portion of the theme. I'm going to select literature here in our subject category. We have access to Lion, which is a huge database, so you can get at literary criticism, you can get at poets reading their works. But I want to focus here on the one ProQuest Learning Literature real quick, because here you can find, to help you with your work, knowledge notes about certain works of literature. So if you have patrons this summer wanting to read up on Maya Angelou, here's a study guide for I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. A lot of folks would like to read new books for the summer. These guides are going to help them with understanding more about the themes of the book, the plot of the book, get a list of the characters. So those can be really helpful here under knowledge notes. The other thing that's helpful is under study pages if you're working with folks in the literature part of this. And this gives you genre pages, information about them, literary movements, and Shakespeare. So if you're encouraging Shakespeare this summer on your literary elements, here's some great resources on ProQuest Learning Literature. Another spot to take a look at is back to those SERS resources that we saw when we were looking at social issues under Issues Researcher. We also have one called ProQuest SERS Renaissance. So back to our literature portion of this. Here you can look up more literature topics, but I want to go back to our database features. Here was our social issues and that Common Core writing guide, leading issues. But under Renaissance, you'll see there's a literary corner. You can browse authors alphabetically, but notice on the right-hand side, if you have folks wanting to focus more on English literature, contemporary literature, here's some great resources and authors. And if we stick with Maya Angelou, there's some magazine articles, reference, graphics, etc. on that author. The other thing there, though, I wanted to show on the literary corner is the online ebooks. So as folks are home more this summer, here's a great spot to access some of those ebooks. And let's go back to William Shakespeare. If that's what you're encouraging this summer, here's Shakespeare in full text. So that's just a little taste of those resources under Science and Technology, Social Issues, and Literature. Kids K through 8 will give you an additional one. There's a database called BookFlix, and notice that there are links connect from a library and connect remotely. So this one's a little different. This is pairing up fiction and nonfiction. And here you'll get categories. So if you're working on science this summer with the little ones, there's the category Animals and Nature. And you can select your book pairs just by turning the page. So if they were working on, let's say, their spider here, you can open up your pairs. You can select your fiction or nonfiction book, and then it will read the book to them. You can do the read along. So if you're doing reading stations this summer, you're encouraging more reading at home, here's the read along, the full story, and notice there's lesson plans here at the top right. Many of the books are in Spanish. If you did need to know which ones specifically are in Spanish, you just click up here on resources.
My first molted skin. My favorite book, Charlotte's Web. Our family portrait.
Notice that it's animating the book itself, and you can see the read along. You can also turn the read along off if you want just the story read. You can also make this full screen. Up under resources, you'll see that you can, here's our fiction and our nonfiction. It will let you select if you did need those titles that were available in Spanish. So if kids are practicing their Spanish for the summer, if you had Spanish language in the home, so books could still be shared with the kids, here are the ones that are also read in Spanish. You can also do it by grade level, Lexile, and running time. So depending on the programming you're trying to do in the library or what you're encouraging them at home. There's also classroom activities at the top as well. And that's all here on your BookFlix. So that's looking at some of our kids, social issues, teens, adults. And let's go back now to our guide to help us sort through so much materials available. So I'm back at our guides.gowild.net for our summer reading. And let's scroll down below our themes. Here's a link if you needed more information about the Collaborative Summer Library Program that we use here in the state of Wyoming. Their new partnership with Bedtime Math. Kids can load the app and practice their math question every day. There's some summer reading webinars if you needed to just brush up a little bit from Upstart and from Gale, one of our vendors. Then we've got some summer reading materials and ideas. The poster that I had up at the beginning is here. The link is here. It's available at wyominglibraries.org. There's also summer reading ideas on Pinterest. There's Bedtime Math again, their catalog and more information. National Fossil Day, they have worked with Collaborative Summer Library Program to put activities together in Kids page, so check that out. New York is doing some great things. You might check out their page. There's a lot of research on the importance of summer reading, and here's some links that we've put up, including the Wyoming Department of Education has a summer reading page and a link to Find the Right Book for You, Find a Book Wyoming program. Below that are some of the resources that we looked at today on gowild.net to help out with locating topics if you're looking for magazine articles, reference materials, books, reader's advisory. All of those are helped here on this summer reading LibGuide. I mentioned wyominglibraries.org where you can find that poster. Here on the wyominglibraries.org page, there's the promotional handouts. So in addition to the summer reading poster, which is here at the bottom, there are bookmarks that you can print out if you're promoting some of the other databases, such as Novelist, or if you're doing the social issues, if you're working with Shakespeare. So take a look at those items that you can go ahead and print out, whether they're bookmarks or posters, to use to promote these resources and summer reading. And there's a great summer reading Novelist poster that was created here. Many of the databases that we talked about, we just covered briefly. You'll find other webinars on those to get more deeply into them. For example, Britannica and SES, things like that, on the Wyoming State Library homepage under the webinar archive here on the right hand side. So if you wanted to watch more about Britannica and its new look, if you hadn't seen that, there's the Britannica webinar, and we've also created a promotional handout for that. So that's a brief look at GoWild.net and some of our resources. You'll see that there's a Browse Go Wild resources in the LibGuides. That's a quick way to get to the summer reading LibGuide. You'll see at the top left you can back up to Guides and then just find it alphabetically. And there's the LibGuide. That will link you to the poster. Thanks for joining in today and have a great weekend.